Marcus had just finished polishing the deep blue Mustang he'd rebuilt with his late father. Hands a car that was more memory than metal, when he noticed the boy staring from across the street. The kid's eyes gleamed with envy, but before Marcus could say a word, the boy shouted, "Mom, I want that one." Moments later, Karen, the self-appointed ruler of the neighborhood HOA, stormed out in her floral robe and fake pearls, shouting across the cul-de-sac, "You can't park that here. This isn't some junkyard." Her voice cracked like a whip through the still morning air. Marcus simply looked up, calm but tired. But he'd heard worse in his years on the force. "Ma'am," he said, polite but firm, "I live here." Karen's lips curled. "We'll see about that." And within minutes, she was on the phone, whispering into her receiver like a queen, issuing an order. "Yes, there's a suspicious man with a car that doesn't belong to him. You'd better send someone fast, before I tell you what happened next. Tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who's listening." When the squad car pulled into the driveway, the neighbors peeked from behind their curtains, curiosity hanging in the air like static. Marcus stood still beside his Mustang, hands in his pockets, watching the officers step out. One of them paused, recognizing the man immediately, but stayed silent, waiting. Karen rushed forward before they could speak. "There, that's him. He's trespassing, and he threatened my son." Her son stood behind her, clutching a basketball, eyes wide and guilty. He hadn't been threatened. He'd been told to go home and respect other people's things. But Karen didn't care about truth. She cared about power. The officer glanced at Marcus, then cleared his throat. "Ma'am, are you sure you want to make this report official?" Karen crossed her arms, smug. "Absolutely. I know my rights." Marcus finally spoke, his tone measured but heavy with quiet strength. "You're right, ma'am. You do have rights." "So do I." The officer exhaled and turned toward her. "Ma'am, meet Chief Marcus Lane. He's our police chief. Your boss, technically." The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut. Karen blinked, the color draining from her face. That can't be." Marcus's badge gleamed as he drew it from his jacket pocket. Not as a weapon, but as a truth she couldn't twist. "You called my department," he said softly, "to report me." In my own neighborhood, the crowd of neighbors had gathered now, murmuring in disbelief. Some shook their heads. Others stepped closer. People who had lived for years under Karen's petty reign of citations and warnings for lawn height and mailbox paint. Karen tried to speak, but Marcus continued, calm as ever. "Ma'am, this isn't about a car or about me. It's about respect, about how you treat people when no one's watching." The words lingered in the warm air. The officer beside him looked down, visibly uncomfortable. Even Karen's son seemed to shrink behind her, whispering, "Mom, let's just go." But Karen, cornered by her own pride, turned the blame once more. "You think you can humiliate me in front of my neighbors?" Shh. Marcus looked at her not with anger, but with something deeper. "Pity. I don't need to humiliate anyone," he said. "The truth does that on its own." The following week, a letter circulated through the community. Karen had been removed from her position as HOA president after multiple complaints, including fabricated reports and harassment.
Ow.
The same neighbors who once stayed silent now found their voices. Marcus never mentioned it again. He continued to wash his Mustang every Sunday morning, greeting everyone who passed with a wave and a smile. And over time, people began stopping to talk about cars, about family, about anything but the walls that used to divide them. As for Karen, she sold her house and left town quietly. But before she did, she left a note on Marcus's doorstep. It read only 2 words, "I'm sorry." He folded it once, slid it into the glove box beside his father's old photo, and drove off, the engine roaring like freedom itself. Because power isn't about control, it's about character. And respect, once earned, echoes louder than any title ever could. The sunlight bounced off the Mustang's hood as Marcus turned the corner, the same light that had seen injustice, now shining on peace. Because dignity doesn't shout, it simply stands tall. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful tales like this one. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done in Marcus's place?